गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीवन। मुझे लगता है 2017 में जब सेबी ने स्कीम्स को स्टैंडर्डाइज किया था, रैशनलाइज किया था, उसमें जो हमारे प्रोडक्ट्स थे उसमें बहुत सारी क्लैरिटी आई थी। और उसके बाद अगर हम हमारे इन्वेस्टमेंट यूनिवर्स को एक्सपेंड करने की बात करें तो अभी जो सेबी ने जो न्यू एसेट क्लास को अप्रूव किया, मुझे लगता है वो बहुत ही सिग्निफिकेंट स्टेप है इंडस्ट्री के लिए, इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स के लिए। क्योंकि क्या हो रहा था कि एक बार म्यूचुअल फंड का पोर्टफोलियो बना तो उनको लगता था कि चलिए अभी हम पीएमएस में जाएंगे, एआईएफ में जाएंगे। अभी एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है मुझे लगता है इस न्यू एसेट क्लास से कि वो जो पैसा डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स के जो क्लाइंट का कहीं और जा रहा था उसको रिटेन करने का मौका मिलेगा। तो आई थिंक ये बहुत ही इम्पॉर्टेंट स्टेप है, उसके बारे में हम बात करेंगे यहाँ पे। आई हैव 4 stalwarts फ्रॉम द म्यूचुअल फंड इंडस्ट्री who are going to enlighten us about what this new asset class is all about. So let me begin with you, Saugata. What is the rationale behind this new asset class, and what are the norms? Are there some restrictions as to which mutual fund can launch it and which mutual fund can't?
Yeah, thanks, Hemant. Thanks, Prem, for introducing this session in your conference today. Though it is at a very nascent stage, but I'm sure a lot of questions we'll try to answer. So, Hemant, I think let me just give an update to all of us on the landscape today. See, today, out of the 66 lakh crores, the HNI market is about 23, 24 lakh crores. You know, the HNI money which is lying in the mutual fund industry is about 23, 24 lakh crores. And this HNI market has happened because a lot of investors came in as retail and they have become HNI because of the market trends. In this journey, like you rightly mentioned, because of the evolution of the investor, because the investor has been probably looking for opportunities. In the last 5 years, we have seen the PMS and the AI business also has become very, very large in India. They are definitely going to become larger. But yes, the entry level for these products and these opportunities are definitely on the higher side today, 50 lakhs and 1 crore. And definitely there was a need for investors to be provided an opportunity to participate in slightly more complex products, slightly different products, which probably will be able to marry with their risk appetite. I think that is the reason why this particular category has been introduced, which is basically a bridge between the normal MF investor and the PMS AIF investor coming in today in the market, which will also probably help all our distributors to, sort of make a differentiation. See, 10 lakhs is the bare minimum entry level which they have specified for any investor who will probably come into this category. Which is itself a differentiator. So I believe that the HNI, threshold today, which is at 2 lakhs, now automatically starts moving to 10 lakhs. So that is the first part. Second part is when it comes to who can come and become a provider of products or under the asset management umbrella. The good part is this will come under the mutual fund umbrella. So all the regulatory guidelines which an MF actually goes through as per the SEBI guidelines will qualify for the new asset class product lines which gets introduced in the future. The other entry criteria which they have clearly specified is any AMC who wants to come and launch these products in the market will have to have, there are two things. One is you got to have a vintage of at least 3 years and average AUM of 10,000 crores. The asset management company should have been managing in the last 3 years. So that is the first criteria. An alternate criteria, they have said that if you don't qualify here, then the asset management company should have 2 levels of CIO, a CIO who is having an experience of at least 10 years in the market, having managed 5,000 crores of assets under management, and a second level of fund manager, also part of the team, who has a 7-year experience with 3-year average asset under management being managed by him. So basically, they are bringing in a sort of experience along with the credibility which the MF industry has demonstrated, filtering the the retail and the HNI sort of very clearly in the market, and giving all of us tools to probably start giving opportunities to investors to participate in multiple propositions. So it's a very, very big move, I think, which the industry will witness as we go ahead. The other part is the name. The funds will not be called mutual funds. They will be called as investment advisory products. So there are a lot of distinction, a lot of guardrails they are going to put in. Yes, there will be some options for mutual funds to customize. I am sure the panel will talk about that further. It's very interesting. I think we have been debating internally for the last 1 month. What are the things which are expected in our company to customize? Will there be a new team, etc., etc.? So I think it's a big opportunity for all of us.
Great. I think I would like to mention here that SEBI has approved the new asset class और अभी इसकी जो फाइनल रेगुलेशंस हैं वो अभी तक नहीं आए हैं. तो हम यहाँ पे जो डिस्कस कर रहे हैं बेसिकली जो पेपर जो पब्लिश हुआ था उसके बारे में और जो अभी तक इन्फॉर्मेशन है, तो मे बी सम ऑफ इट दैट वी आर डिस्कसिंग में एक्चुअली चेंज. सो आई थिंक इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू रिमेंबर दैट. Akhil, let me come to you now. I think considering the fact that this is a very, very important step, as Saugata just mentioned, I think positioning is going to be very, very important. So how do you look at it? Should we say that कि ये PMS और AIF का democratization है? Or should we look at what SEBI has described it as adding value to the offering which are there from the mutual fund and expanding the universe for investors? Or do you think it's a bit of both?
Yeah. So good afternoon. Thank you, Hemant. I think it's a mix of both, right? So आप देखेंगे कि SEBI ने लार्जली 3 लाइसेंसेज इशू किए हैं, राइट. सो 4 डेकेड से ज़्यादा म्यूचुअल फंड का लाइसेंस इशू हुआ था. PMS करीबन 25 साल से अपने इंडिया में है अभी. और AIFs को भी आप देखेंगे 2012 में लाइसेंस इशू हुआ, तो करीबन 12 साल का हिस्ट्री है AIFs को लेके. सो म्यूचुअल फंड, PMS, AIF, all 3 categories, all 3 licenses are available for everybody to participate in. Now largely mutual funds have done a tremendous job in basically getting a lot of retail investors through plain vanilla schemes like large cap, mid cap, small cap, and it's done phenomenally well. I think mutual fund ऐसा स्ट्रक्चर है जो सबसे कन्वीनियंट, सबसे एफिशिएंट एंड सबसे स्केलेबल है. सो देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट दैट. PMS और AIF, PMS क्रिएट किया गया था उन इन्वेस्टर्स के लिए जिनके पास में ऑब्वियसली थोड़ा ज़्यादा इन्वेस्टेबल सरप्लस है, थोड़ी ज़्यादा रिस्क ले सकते हैं और थोड़े डिफरेंशिएटेड प्रोडक्ट्स में इन्वेस्ट कर सकते थे. और PMS का जो मॉडल है वो भी थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है, बिकॉज म्यूचुअल फंड्स में आप पूल्ड व्हीकल में आते हैं, आप म्यूचुअल एक फंड में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, आपको यूनिट्स मिलते हैं एंड मैनेज्ड ऑन द पूल लेवल. PMS इज मैनेज्ड मोर एट इंडिविजुअल लेवल, जहाँ पर जो PMS मैन्युफैक्चरर्स हैं वो क्लाइंट्स के बिहाफ पे एक मॉडल पोर्टफोलियो पे ट्रेड करते हैं और मैनेज करते हैं सिक्योरिटीज़ में. ऑल्दो एक पोर्टफोलियो ही क्रिएट होता है, बट थोड़े डिसएडवांटेजेस होते हैं टैक्सेशन को लेके, मॉडल पोर्टफोलियो को रीबैलेंस करने में थोड़े इश्यूज आते हैं. बट जो HNI कस्टमर्स हैं दे हैड दिस कि भाई एक बियॉन्ड अ लेवल अगर पैसा है तो थोड़ा सा डाइवर्सिफाई, डिफ्रेंशिएट करने के लिए इस सेगमेंट में जाना चाहिए. और फिर 2012 में AIF लाइसेंस इशू हुए, विच वाज अगेन जैसे ये नया कैटेगरी क्रिएट हो रहा है वैसे PMS से थोड़ा आगे जाके थोड़ा और स्ट्रक्चर करने के लिए AIF क्रिएट हुआ. AIF में कैटेगरी 1, कैटेगरी 2, कैटेगरी 3 क्रिएट हुए. अब कैटेगरी 1 है आपके जो अर्ली एज इन्वेस्टमेंट्स हैं, वेंचर कैपिटल फंड्स, तो जिनको एकदम ही उस स्पेस में जाना है जहाँ पर आपको यंग कंपनीज खरीदनी है, तो वो एक अपॉर्चुनिटी थी. कैटेगरी 2 में प्राइवेट इक्विटी है, रियल एस्टेट है, ऑल दीज प्राइवेट क्रेडिट है, सो आप उसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं. और कैटेगरी 3 में आप म्यूचुअल फंड जैसे एक जो लिस्टेड प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं, कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ लिस्टेड, अनलिस्टेड और लॉन्ग शॉर्ट, इस प्रकार के आप फंड्स मैनेज कर सकते हैं, राइट. तो ये तीनों चीज़ AIF के अंदर अवेलेबल है. तो AIF टिपिकली हम लोग बोलते थे जब ये हमने बिल्ड करना शुरू किया कि इट इज़ बेस्ट ऑफ बोथ द वर्ल्ड्स. इट इज़ मैनेज लाइक अ म्यूचुअल फंड बिकॉज इट्स अ पूल्ड व्हीकल, बट जो स्ट्रैटेजीज थी उसमें काफ़ी फ्रीडम था. आपको जिस तरीके से जो थीम पे जितना कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड बुटीक पोर्टफोलियो बनाना है, दैट फ्रीडम वाज अवेलेबल इन द AIF कैटेगरी. हाउएवर आई थिंक एक जो थोड़ा डिबेटेबल पॉइंट है, डिस्कशन पॉइंट है, थोड़ा सा कंसर्न भी है कि पीएमएस और एआईएफ में एक थोड़ा सा टैक्स डिसएडवांटेज रहता है, बिकॉज आपका जो टैक्सेशन है, जितनी बार आपके स्टॉक्स खरीदे बेचे जाते हैं तो आपका टैक्स लग जाता है उसमें, राइट? सो उस हिसाब से मुझे ये लगता है कि म्यूचुअल फंड व्हीकल में ये नए एसेट क्लास में अगर अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ मिलती हैं कि आप पीएमएस और एआईएफ जैसे प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर सकें, तो आई थिंक इट विल हेल्प इन डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन, मतलब यू कैन गेट मोर पीपल इनटू अ बेटर स्ट्रक्चर। ऑल्दो ये अभी कंसल्टेशन स्टेज में है, क्या कर सकते हैं क्या नहीं कर सकते हैं, थोड़े बहुत लिमिटेशंस अभी भी हैं इसमें। बहुत ज़्यादा एग्जॉटिक प्रोडक्ट्स, बहुत ज़्यादा लीवरेज प्रोडक्ट्स, वो सब अभी भी फिलहाल न्यू कैटेगरी में नहीं कर सकते हैं। तो ये एक पार्ट हुआ। सेकेंड पार्ट है कि 40 साल से ऊपर म्यूचुअल फंड्स हैं, आज 5 करोड़ यूनिक इन्वेस्टर्स हैं, और आई थिंक पिछले 5 साल में डबल ही हुए हैं। 20 साल के ऊपर से पीएमएस है, मेरे ख्याल से पीएमएस और एआईएफ को साथ में जोड़े, कैटेगरी 3 और पीएमएस ओनली लिस्टेड, तो सब मिला के मेरे हिसाब से करीबन 6-6.5 लाख इन्वेस्टर ही हैं आज के तारीख में। और क्योंकि पीएमएस का मिनिमम इन्वेस्टमेंट 50 लाख है और एआईएफ का 1 करोड़ है, तो वो एक बहुत बड़ा लिमिटेशन है काफ़ी इन्वेस्टर्स को भी। किसी के पास में 1 करोड़ है तो 50 लाख पीएमएस में डालना थोड़ा सा हाई रिस्क हो जाता है। यू कैन नॉट पुट 50% ऑफ योर मनी और 100% ऑफ योर मनी इन अ पीएमएस इन अ एआईएफ। सो देयरफॉर अगर आपको थोड़ी सी बुटीक सोफिस्टिकेटेड स्ट्रैटेजीज म्यूचुअल फंड प्लेटफॉर्म में स्मॉलर टिकट साइज पे मिलती है 10 लाख में, तो डेफिनेटली नंबर ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स जो पार्टिसिपेट कर सकते हैं इन स्ट्रैटेजीज में, वो डेफिनेटली बढ़ेंगी। तो डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन तो ज़रूर होगा, और मेरे ख्याल से इट्स अ वेरी वेरी गुड मूव। लेट्स सी किस डायरेक्शन में फाइनल जो रूल्स बनते हैं उस हिसाब से किस टाइप के प्रोडक्ट कर सकते हैं, क्या एडवांटेजेस डिसएडवांटेजेस हैं। आई थिंक दैट इज़ येट टू पैन आउट। बट मेरे हिसाब से जिस तरीके से, जैसे सौगाता इज ऑल्सो सेइंग कि आज नंबर ऑफ HNIs आर ओनली इंक्रीजिंग इन इंडिया, राइट? सो इकोनॉमी बढ़ रही है, पर कैपिटा बढ़ रहा है, इन्वेस्टमेंट सरप्लसेस बढ़ रहे हैं, और आप लोग सब भी क्लाइंट्स को बहुत पैसे वाले बना रहे हैं, राइट? तो जिसके पास 10 लाख था 5 साल पहले, आज उसके पास में 1 करोड़ है, 1 करोड़ वाले के पास में 5 करोड़ है, राइट? तो नंबर ऑफ इन्वेस्टर्स इंक्रीजिंग मीन्स द पोटेंशियल साइज टू गेट मोर इन्वेस्टर्स इन दिस 10 lakh bucket, आई थिंक इज स्टेप इन द राइट डायरेक्शन। एंड म्यूचुअल फंड्स ज़्यादा रेगुलेटेड है, guardrails are always there to protect the risk, and other advantages जो आगे discuss करेंगे। I think it will definitely help add more value to investors in terms of diversification and increasing number of investors in little bit of differentiated strategies than the plain vanilla mutual funds.
थैंक्स। गौरव, मैं आपके पास आता हूँ। देखिए, जो न्यू एसेट क्लास है वो एसेंशियली इन्वेस्टमेंट स्ट्रैटेजीज हैं, and SEBI has said that only those investment strategy which are specified by them can be launched. कंसल्टेशन पेपर में उन्होंने 2 स्ट्रैटेजीज की बात की है, लॉन्ग शॉर्ट इक्विटी फंड और इन्वर्स या रिवर्स ETF जो बोलते हैं। सो मैं आई वुड लाइक यू टू काइंड ऑफ एलेबोरेट अ बिट ऑन दीज 2 स्ट्रैटेजीज, एंड ऑल्सो आपको लगता है कि कुछ और स्ट्रैटेजीज में ऐड होंगी, या आप ऐसी कुछ स्ट्रैटेजी हैं जो आप चाहेंगे कि वो उसके अंदर ऐड हो, ताकि, क्योंकि हम बात कर रहे हैं यूनिवर्स को एक्सपैंड करने की, तो जो डिफरेंट स्ट्रैटेजीज हैं वो अवेलेबल हो इन्वेस्टर्स को और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स को अपने क्लाइंट्स के लिए मैनेज करने के लिए।
Thanks, Hemant. Thanks, Cafe, for getting us here. A very interesting question, very early stage. Like the circular stated, there are just 2 categories being talked about. One is long short and one is inverse ETF. If you look at the genesis of why this whole asset class is coming, you suddenly had a proliferation of PMSs and AIFs coming to meet the so-called expectation of increased client appetite. Now, as your GDP grows, clients would want to get far more differentiated products, and people were looking for more than plain vanilla mutual funds. In the long run, however, I think I have a firm belief that any product which gives client experience will find money. And we are all investment vehicles. So MF is an investment vehicle, PMS, AIF, and others. So currently, the circular talks about 2 strategies, long short. Many of you would have seen long short strategies being run on the AIF. These are basically strategies where, unlike a mutual fund where you can short what you hold, these strategies allow you to short assets which you don't hold, and hence you can run it as a debt plus or a equity minus, and a combination of both. Inverse ETFs are very interesting. These are basically ETFs which are created to work against the index you are betting on. So if you want to bet against the BSE, you buy an inverse ETF. So if the BSE falls, you make gains on that. So those are the 2 initial strategies. There are some pointers on credit strategies being allowed, because given what happened in 2020, The regulator is very clear that if you want to run diluted credit strategies, they have to be in very different vehicles. So that will come through. Having said that, over the long run, if the alternate asset class, as they call it, or the new asset class, doesn't give a wide differentiated range of investment vehicles, it will fall flat, because then you are just offering a very boutique set of funds, and clients will then go and navigate either back to the mutual fund for generic or go up the ladder for AIFs. And that's what eventually will come through. I think the real reason why this asset class is coming could also potentially be today the way the regulator wants a mutual fund to run is have very strict guardrails on what they can buy, the limits and all of that. Having said that, as the industry has evolved, we clearly think we can run tighter portfolios in some funds. For example, today if I run my corporate bond fund, I am limited to the exposure I can take in an NBFC up to a certain limit, which is 10% per security. But given that I manage a 1 lakh crore corporate bond fund book, my portfolio managers think I can potentially create a basket of 5 individual securities and offer it to a client to give him a better yield. So what has also happened, if you look at especially in the fixed income, suddenly the change in tax has meant that people who were not wanting to step beyond AAA are very comfortable buying mezzanine debt. Now, for me, it beats the logic that how can a tax profile change the risk profile of a client. So what is the bridge? So you're moving from 7 straight to 15, which clearly will harm everyone in the long run. So how can I come and launch a product at 9, 9.5, 10? The only viable was AIFs, which obviously have its own limitation in liquidity and how you structure. And that's where I think this asset class will give a lot of opportunity and flexibility, and that's what will eventually come through. I think this asset class also, firstly, 10 lakhs for me today, honestly, anyone in the room which thinks 10 lakhs is HNI, I think we are joking. We are selling our house to buy Coldplay tickets, so 10 lakh is like, wow. So if anyone thinks that 10 lakh is an ultra HNI, we are in a cuckoo's world. I think it will eventually move up. Over a period of time, over the 5-10 years, AIFs will kick in at 10-20 crores. PMS strategies, until you offer differentiated, will face severe challenge from this asset class. And they have to start at a much higher threshold. And I think these would also move up to 50 lakhs. Because 10 lakhs, honestly, in any of the recent NFOs, if you look at the asset allocation, the pure retail is very, very low.
Yeah.
And I would honestly say for anyone not having 25-30 crores, don't even look at AIF today, because that's very suboptimal sizing you're doing on your portfolio. So it is very early, but it opens up a huge window for, I would say, a lot of family offices, corporate treasuries, which are being forced to look at alternate asset classes because the mutual fund structure is limiting on the investment opportunities. Means today as a house, any one of the top, all the 40 AMCs have the ability to create baskets which are outside of the guardrails of a mutual fund structure, but well regulated within the overall ambit of where we can invest. We're not allowed to do it. Clearly, these asset classes will allow you to launch fixed income products with a lock-in and avoid all the very tight guidelines, which is required from a mutual fund. Because please remember, mutual funds are pass-through vehicles.
Sure.
So this will take it a little step further and stop short of what AIFs. Over the long runs, AIF will become your Cat 1, Cat 2. And Cat 3 could eventually fall back here is what my broad opinion is.
Thank you. Ruchi, let me come to you. You know, one of the reasons why SEBI has allowed this new asset class is because investors who can invest between 10 lakh and 50 lakh, they want them to go through, invest in these complex investment strategies through the well-regulated entities. So obviously restrictions होंगे. जो अभी तक information है हमारे पास, जैसे कह रहे हैं कि leveraging नहीं होगा, right? There are going to be restrictions in terms of how much can you invest in unrated paper, unlisted companies, right? Or derivatives allow है, लेकिन वहाँ पे भी restrictions होगा. So obviously I can understand that safeguarding the interest of the investor is important for everyone. But आपको लगता है ये कहीं ना कहीं restrictive होगा fund managers के लिए, क्योंकि we are talking about very complex investment strategies. To be able to manage them efficiently, अगर ये restrictions हैं, एक तो वो, दूसरा अगर उन्हें compete करना है, eventually if you want this to become big, okay, then you are competing somewhere, whether you like it or not, with PMS and AIF. Will these be restrictive? Of course, like I said earlier, we are yet to see final guidelines kya hai. But from what we know, what is your view on that?
Thank you, Hemant. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Prem, Anita, and Nishant for considering Old Bridge. So I'll take a step back because all of us are talking about the fact that this is a consultation paper. ये एक सोच है, right? And which obviously we know that it has got the first in principle approval, but the details, the final print is still pending. So from our context, I can say that the timing of this category could not have been better. And while I totally agree to all the panelists here, and I know I agree to each one of them that what they are saying in terms of the thought that is going behind it, but if I step back and look at from where the concept or this category is being thought about and why we feel that timing can't be better. Because अगर हम पिछले 5-10 साल में देखें तो काफ़ी ऐसे इन्वेस्टर्स हैं जिन्होंने जनरेशनल वेल्थ बनाई है, राइट? इससे पहले पैनल में भी किसी ने बोला है, अभी गौरव ने भी राइटफुली बोला कि 10 लाख के मायने नहीं है, दैट 10 हैज़ बिकम वन फॉर मोस्ट इन्वेस्टर्स, राइट? तो और अगर हम देखें यहाँ से अगर आने वाले दशक की अगर हम बात करें, इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट 2030, then given the environment that we are in, the valuations where they are, the fact that as compared to the last decade, probably inflation will be seeing a declining trend, right? So investors somewhere have to align their investment return expectations also in line with inflation. So the returns of probably benchmark plus minus category will probably mimic or probably go in line with where the inflation trajectory is. And that is where we feel this could be a great opportunity and a time wherein active managers, structures, regulated, rightfully launched structures can flourish. So that is what probably my opening point would be. Now, if we look at various categories that are there, AIF, PMS, and the structure that is being talked about, the opportunity that this structure can give to a large part of investors is, yes, 10 lakhs is a small amount, but I think everybody, right from the industry to the regulator, is trying baby steps because any launch, any change, let's accept, human beings resist to a little change, right? So 10 is a good place to be in. I agree to one of my fellow panelists that this 10 could go to 1, and likewise all other categories would further enhance in times to come. This category, what it can do is probably bridge that gap between investors who want something more than a MF category. There are immensely nice managers and good products that are there, but probably apart from thematics, apart from the passives, in the plain vanilla MF trajectory, if we see, the categorization that is there, and I'll largely speak about the equity category, there are those many permutations and combinations that you can do because of the fact right from naming and right for the category that is there. That is where this structure probably can open a host of opportunities wherein right from sector classification, right from, there are also talks around the percentage allocation to in a business or into a sector will go through change, right? All of that, and yes, the long shot, the derivatives hedge, all of this in the coming decade will help when done right. And that's where we feel that this category should be embraced with a lot of opportunity. We will all wait for the final print that comes. But if done well, if given the right opportunity in terms of what can be done from a fund manager's perspective in terms of the usage of hedge, the usage of derivative, the flexibility, and at the same time the right regulations that will be associated with this category could probably be very path-breaking for the decade to come.
Saugata, I'll come back to you. We are talking about complex investment strategies. Obviously, the distributors play a very important role. This is another offering for them. Given the complex nature of the strategies, I think they will have to upgrade their skills or knowledge. One, what is your advice, how it can be done? Second, can we expect something from the industry where you guys can organize some sessions, maybe online session? I think it's important that there are no gaps in what needs to be said and what is being said by the distributors.
No, I agree. And just few points which have been discussed. So I internally we think that this is not a competition or between MF and AIF PMS. If you see the MF spectrum, one side it is MF, the other side is index funds and passives. This is in between now, which is coming up, which is a slightly more aggressive category within the MF space. So it may not probably eat into the PMS AIF business. So it's going to be a standalone category which will become very useful for a lot of our distributors. And I think I saw, RI, some of our RI colleagues are here. I think on the RI side also, this becomes a very good product for you to start charging a fee for something different which you are offering within an MF space. So something different, things will happen as we go ahead. Coming to on the learning side, I am sure, as mutual fund distributors, as employees of MF industry, there are certain things we have learned on the job over the years, last 3, 5, 10 years. The learning quotient definitely has improved for all of us. But yes, if these sort of categories starts getting introduced in the market and we need more people to go and advocate and start speaking about that, surely the knowledge quotient has to go up. I believe, and maybe we can debate later on, the NISM, basic NISM certification also has to change, That's very, very basic for someone to go and start probably looking at these categories from a recommendation point of view to our investors. As MF employees, we have to upgrade our skills, because if long short and inverse ETF, etc., these are certain categories which gets introduced. The nuances of those propositions should definitely be known to all of us, and it can be, this industry has gone through some tough times, because in the past also there have been these products. I'm sure Gaurab is aware. We have launched these capital protection products in the past, and in difficult markets, those products have actually not performed, and there are multiple questions being asked to all of us, and the answers were very limited, because the knowledge quotient was not there at that point in time to probably launch those ideas. So knowledge is definitely very important. Basic certification levels have to go up. I think in our company, as we progress, we'll obviously start thinking about having necessarily certain certifications for people who will start going and talking to distributors also. Even the distributor friends have to start probably looking at multiple upgrades as we go ahead. So knowledge will definitely be an important thing. As an AMC, which is sort of leader in the knowledge space, we will try to bring in a lot of skill sets based products, modules to enable our distributors to upgrade. Surely we will have to work in that direction.
Yes, I think that will be great. Akhil, I'll come back to you. You did mention about tax benefits. Okay. We'll obviously know later as to what kind of tax benefits are available here. But assuming that जो ट्रेडिशनल म्यूचुअल फंड में टैक्स बेनिफिट्स हैं अगर वो यहाँ पे आते हैं तो डेफिनेटली न्यू एसेट क्लास में एज होगा एज कम्पेयर टू PMS एंड कैटेगरी एटलीस्ट AIF कैटेगरी 3 एटलीस्ट इफ यू कंपेयर दैट. So one, do you agree that it's going to be a big step if it happens? Second, if it does not happen, will the new asset class lose some of its sheen because the tax benefits are not what they're available in the traditional mutual funds?
Yeah. Thanks, Hemant, once again. So just to add a little bit points and then I'll come to the tax part. One, I think in this category, we can do long-only funds also. So while you can do sophisticated strategies, long-short, or inverse ETFs, or maybe absolute return products, capital, all of those things, but you can do long-only strategies as well, right? But you can, because the stock limits are higher than what is applicable for mutual funds, it is slightly, you can have a high conviction portfolio also. So that's number one. I think number two, over time, especially because we are in the business of PMS and AIF, तो पिछले 10 साल से हम तो काफ़ी ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं इस कम्युनिटी को समझाने के लिए कि PMS AIF क्यों अच्छा होता है और क्यों करना चाहिए. सो आई थिंक ओवर टाइम इंडस्ट्री ने काफ़ी काम किया, तो मेरे हिसाब से करीबन 5,000 IFAs तो regularly बेच रहे हैं, right? So we are moving in that direction where they are already embracing this alternate as an asset class. So that part is, I think it continues. But yes, I think एक बार जब launch होगा तो obviously बहुत सारे sessions होंगे and बहुत सारी learnings होगी. And I think it is good that in business की एक mutual fund तो बहुत commoditized product हो गया. It's very easy to understand, सबको सब कुछ समझ में आता है. तो इस category के through जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं वो भी अपने नॉलेज और स्किल सेट्स को अप कर सकते हैं एंड सामने देन दे कैन ऑफर दैट वैल्यू टू द इन्वेस्टर हु कैन अफोर्ड टू पुट दिस काइंड ऑफ वैल्यू. नाउ कमिंग टू टैक्सेशन, आई थिंक जब मैं सर्कुलर पढ़ रहा था तो मेरा ध्यान दो ही चीज़ों पे था कि टैक्सेशन म्यूचुअल फंड का एप्लीकेबल है कि नहीं, जो मेरे हिसाब से एप्लीकेबल है. पॉइंट नंबर 1 आई विल एक्सप्लेन. एंड पॉइंट नंबर 2 जिसका आंसर अभी है नहीं वो है प्राइसिंग स्ट्रैटेजी. तो आप किस प्रकार की TRs जैसे म्यूचुअल फंड में टोटल एक्सपेंस रेशो है, स्टेप डाउन होता है साइज़ के हिसाब से, तो यहाँ पर क्या प्राइसिंग स्ट्रैटेजी रहेगा उस पर अभी कुछ क्लैरिटी आई नहीं है. आई थिंक ये 2 चीज़ें हैं जो गेम चेंजर हैं, राइट. मेरे हिसाब से जो मैंने पढ़ा है टैक्सेशन विल फॉलो व्हाट हैपेंस इन म्यूचुअल फंड्स. अब आप ये देखिए कि 2019 तक आपका लॉन्ग टर्म फ्री था, शॉर्ट टर्म 10% था, राइट. सो ठीक था, इट वाज ओके. फॉर PMS ऑल्सो इट वॉज ओके, बिकॉज आप अगर खरीद बेच कर रहे हैं तो आपके जो स्टॉक्स 1 साल के ऊपर हैं उस पर टैक्स भरना नहीं था, तो फंड मैनेजर कुड रोटेट द पोर्टफोलियो. और अभी जो जिस प्रकार से टैक्सेशन बढ़े हैं, राइट, तो नाउ लॉन्ग टर्म इज एट 10% प्लस, sorry 12.5% प्लस प्लस, एंड शॉर्ट टर्म इज 20 प्लस प्लस. सो अब म्यूचुअल फंड मैनेजर्स बिना किसी वरी के अगर उनको कुछ खरीदना है, शॉर्ट टर्म में बेचना है, लॉन्ग टर्म में बेचना है, विदाउट एनी हैसल दे कैन डू चर्न इन देयर पोर्टफोलियो. क्लाइंट इज अ पास थ्रू, सो क्लाइंट हैज टू पे टैक्स वंस ही रिडीम्स एंड एप्लीकेबल लॉन्ग टर्म, शॉर्ट टर्म. बट PMS और AIF में बहुत बड़ा डिसएडवांटेज है, बिकॉज एवरी टाइम आप चर्न कर रहे हो, और इस रेजिम में जहाँ पर 15% आपका लॉन्ग टर्म है और 25% शॉर्ट टर्म है, तो इतना स्मूथ नहीं है. मतलब बहुत कॉन्शियस रहना पड़ता है कि अब आपको कुछ बेचना ही है, बिकॉज इमीडिएटली आपके जो रिटर्न्स हैं, आप ग्रॉस रिटर्न्स है, नेट रिटर्न्स है, तो टैक्स के थ्रू डाइल्यूशन ऑफ ग्रॉस रिटर्न्स इज क्वाइट हाई, राइट. तो मेरे ख्याल से इस करंट टैक्स रेजिम में और जिस तरीके से जा रहा है, आई थिंक डायरेक्शन तो यही है कि यू नेवर नो, एंड आई होप नॉट कि और टैक्सेस शायद और बढ़ी जाए. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा डिसएडवांटेज है PMS व्हीकल और AIF व्हीकल में. और ये अगर फ्रीडम मिलता है कि फंड के अंदर आप चर्न करें तो आपको टैक्स नहीं लगता है म्यूचुअल फंड की जैसे, जो मेरे हिसाब से सच है, शायद वैसा ही होगा. तो ये बहुत बड़ा एक एलिमेंट होगा इन टर्म्स ऑफ being more tax efficient. मतलब investors are also, मतलब 10% के आसपास they used to not bother, जब क्योंकि मैं तो एक्सपीरियंस किया है. अभी इंक्रीमेंटली बहुत क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं हमको कि आप आज खरीद रहे हो, 1 महीने बाद बेच रहे हो, ये वो, मतलब ये सारे क्वेश्चंस बहुत ज़्यादा आने लगे हैं. AIF में तो इनफैक्ट जो डिविडेंड्स आते हैं वो भी फुल टैक्स पे लगते हैं. मतलब जो भी डिविडेंड है उस पर भी 40% टैक्स लग रहा है. तो आई थिंक दिस विल बी अ वेरी वेरी बिग एडवांटेज. और इसके साथ में अगर प्राइसिंग स्ट्रैटेजी भी अगर फ्लेक्सिबल रहती है कि आप फिक्स स्ट्रक्चर है, ग्रेडेड स्ट्रक्चर है, वेरिएबल स्ट्रक्चर है, फुल कैरी मॉडल है, अगर ये फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी अलाउ होती है नए स्ट्रक्चर में, ये दोनों के कॉम्बिनेशन अगर ये होता है, तो मेरे हिसाब से इट विल बी अ डिसरप्शन. और लॉन्ग ओनली जो मेरे हिसाब से है एप्लीकेबल, मेकिंग अ लाउड स्टेटमेंट, बट काफ़ी PMS कंपनी शायद PMS बंद करके सब इधर ही आ जाएंगे, सीरियसली. तो आई थिंक ये 2 चीज़ों में दिमाग, टैक्स आई एम प्रीटी श्योर, बट प्राइसिंग इज समथिंग वी हैव टू वेट एंड वॉच.
थैंक्स. गौरव, मैं आपके पास वापस आता हूँ. आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा था कि वो 10 लाख का अमाउंट है, बहुत बड़ा नहीं है. अभी लगता है हमें बड़ा है, बट आई थिंक आगे जाके वो बढ़ेगा भी. ऑफ लेट देयर इज बीन लॉट टॉक अबाउट हाउ इन्वेस्टर्स आर फ्लोकिंग टू सेक्टर फंड, थीमेटिक फंड, राइट. अभी 10 लाख कोई बड़ा अमाउंट नहीं है. बोल रहे हैं अगर इफ यू सी द म्यूचुअल फंड पोर्टफोलियोज, जिसका 5-10 लाख का पोर्टफोलियो था वही 25 लाख पे बैठा हुआ है, तो उसको लगता है वो भी HNI है, वो भी डाल सकता है यहाँ पे. तो यहाँ पे कुछ चीज़ों का ध्यान रखने की ज़रूरत है, that something like that doesn't happen, which is happening in maybe sector thematic fund.
So firstly, I don't know if it's a trick question. I just came out of a thematic fund launch, so short answer, no. Why I don't think this will happen is when I was stepping out for this panel, I just typed the word asset allocation in Google, and there will be 100 sheets you can open, and yet people don't imbibe asset allocation. So I don't think this is a mantra which SEBI has pulled out that if I do this, people's behavior towards sectoral thematic will stop. I don't think that's going to happen. It's good it doesn't happen, because our jobs will become redundant if people know what to do in their money. Second thing, I don't want to be a little bit of a bad guy, but like NISM 5A and NISM 21A, this could potentially have NISM 133C, which all of us need to clear to qualify to sell this product. The third aspect is, I think people's understanding of thematic and why there seems to be a slew of thematics needs to be appreciated. So when 25 years back, Franklin Templeton bought out Pioneer, Pioneer used to have a technology fund. The fund obviously was launched because IT was booming and all that, and the fund had exactly 8 stocks. So when I asked Sukumar, who's running the fund, he said the universe was 12, I bought 8. Today, if I go back to the digital fund or any fund, the universe is 150 to 200. So I think until you are in a very narrow sleeve of a sector. I think most thematic funds are broad-based, multi-sector themes, and as investors' wealth grows, they would want to diversify beyond your large made, and all of that categories. Secondly, I think investor behavior to navigate towards performing funds will live till the cows come home.
Sure.
When my daughter also becomes old, people will still navigate. Classic example, we keep saying past performance is not an indicator of future. I've been saying it for 30 years, no one listens. So I don't think this strategy in itself will change behavior. Obviously, 10 lakhs, like I said, will have some limiting, but the other concern I always have is when you buy a 10 rupee biscuit, we check manufacturing date, price. But we put away 10 lakhs and say the buyer behavior concept is not there. It looks a little funny. And this is one aspect we've been talking to regulators. I think by the 10 lakh, you should have at least someone scanning. And like Akhil said, hopefully the SID or the KIM would have far more disclaimers upfront, saying you're getting into a more complex strategy and all of that for you to sign off. And hence, there hopefully could be less accidents.
Okay. Time is over, but I just have a quick question for you. We're talking about this asset class being suitable for people who can invest between 10 to 50 lakh. Do you actually see, like Akhil mentioned about investors who have been investing in AIF and PMS, उनको लगेगा कि यार ये एक अच्छी ऑप्शन है हमारे लिए कि एक ही फंड मैनेजर को पैसा देने की बजाय ये 5 डिफरेंट फंड हाउस में जा सकता हूँ, डिफरेंट स्ट्रेटजीज में जा सकता हूँ. डू यू सी दैट हैपनिंग? बिकॉज अगर वो ऐसा होता है तो मुझे लगता है ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है टू एक्सपेंड आवर क्लाइंट बेस. इट्स नॉट दैट हमारे ही क्लाइंट इसमें डाल रहे हैं और दूसरे क्लाइंट जो डायरेक्टली वहाँ पे जाते हैं यहाँ भी आ सकते हैं.
Sure, this is always a possibility because especially in volatile markets, etc., wherein even ultra HNIs think before allocating their 10 crores, right? Or because some structures also, some PMSs also have 5 crore, 10 crores as minimum ticket size. We had that, guilty for that, right, in the past. So the point is, this will always help them broad base their investment horizon. But I will also leave one thought, and yes, the timer is like reminds me of school, you know, I mean, you have to just finish it about that. So I'll quickly wrap it up. Ticket size probably is not always the first criteria, right? The ticket size from, I would say, a manufacturer and a regulator's perspective is an entry barrier. It is not कि किसको कितना minimum डालना है. Probably it's an entry barrier that बहुत retail investor जिसको probably ये category नहीं समझती है, past performance देख के अपनी सारी savings उसमें ना डाल दे. So it is more like an entry barrier for an investor, because अगर ऐसा होता सारे ultra HNIs बहुत बड़ी ticket sizes देख रहे होते तो वो इतने सारे mutual funds में over allocated नहीं होते, not just equity mutual funds or fixed income, but also in hybrid categories and all. Wherein for an ultra HNI, you feel you have a fleet of advisors, you have all family offices, etc., who can do that asset allocation for you. You don't need a hybrid, but they invest. So this obviously a new category, a newness always has that aura. I mean, we are having this before the advent of it. There'll be more discussions, there'll be more trainings. So there will always be awareness of this category. I would say if launched well, thought well, structured well, on long only side and even few regulated structures, it can be a great opportunity for investors. And most investors, HNI and ultra HNI, should ideally embrace it, because for all the advantages that this gives, being on an MF platform, should it have those advantages that MF enjoys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.